You are now listening to Effin Radio.
And welcome to F&B Radio. My name is Lindsay Collins, and I am your host. I was driving in the car with my oldest son, who's 10, and I don't know how these ended up in our car, but Jeremy found some CDs that he had burned. Yes, that's a C, the letter C, and then the letter D. It's a disc. You guys might remember them. I don't know if CDs, they don't have the staying power of like a record, like vinyl. It's kind of going to be one of those things where you're like, wait, what was that called? A reel to reel? Yeah, no, that part of technology just got completely erased because they don't hold up. So there's no way to preserve them. So, in that case, they just kind of disappear and die in the brains of millennials. But anyway, Jeremy found these CDs that he had burned when he was in high school, I guess. And they somehow made it into the car. I'm like flipping through them, just smiling and laughing at how adorable, sweet baby Jeremy must have been listening to these CDs. But then one is like a live performance of a Stained song. And I feel like I talk about Stained on this podcast like 3 times too many. But this is the 3rd time I'm bringing up Stained, as far as I know, on this podcast. And it was a live version of that one where it's like, I'm on the outside, I can see through you. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But it's like a live version, like an acoustic version. And Jules was like, oh yeah, he's kind of vibing, like just hearing the music kind of intro, people clapping. And he was like, boy, I love these classical guitars. And I was just like, oh my God, what? Were you Beethoven? How old am I? He was just trying so hard to get into it, but he just was like, could tell to his little baby ears, this was just so old to him. And I'm thinking like, this just sounds, I don't know, like anything, like any unplugged record from MTV. But he just, he was enjoying the stylings of that maestro, Beethoven, or who he might as well have been Beethoven. That's how not relevant this song was to my 10-year-old. And it made me feel old as I was driving to World Market to get candles to try to burn out all of the evil that was in my home. I don't know what happened, but we got absolutely wrecked with some kind of illness. If you were at Rip City last month and you saw my name on the bill and you were like, I'll see Lindsay there, and then you didn't see me there, it's because we got totally walloped by not COVID, but maybe it's like the new COVID that hasn't come out yet. But it didn't show up on any tests. It just was like nothing according to tests, but it was very real to me and Jeremy, who I truly have not been that sick. Wow. In a long time, like leveled, like laying in bed, unable to move, just burning up with fever, like 102-degree fever. Anyway, it was horrible. And then we just kept taking turns being sick and giving it to one another. Luckily, it didn't seem to affect the kids. Knock on wood. Yeah, but me and Jeremy just I still don't feel right. Like even now as I'm trying to do this show, I'm like, what happened to me? Like it came on me hot and heavy. Like I was just hanging out, having a regular day. And then I got out of the shower and I was like, I'm feeling a little weird. And then like 20 seconds later, I was like, oh my God. Like that's how fast it hit me. And I was just like, I feel like someone injected me with some horrible disease that just continued to wreak havoc. There it is. On my life. So I've been recovering from that. And I am sorry if if I tricked you or that you thought I was going to be a Rip City, but I wasn't. But it turns out the show crushed anyway. So I hope it wasn't too big of a deal for you, or I hope I didn't like trick anyone into having the best time of their life. So no tricks, just like I was sad that I missed it. I was just laying at home being depressed that I wasn't there. I do get FOMO. That's fear of missing out in case you're like Julian's age and he's like, what is that? Or maybe that's just like comes standard into their like Rolodex of words that they know. Maybe they already know about FOMO. They don't have to like, it's not too old yet. But anyway, I definitely had FOMO. I was like laying there just watching all the wonderfulness happen. So congrats to Marty and Henry on another excellent Rip City. I will be at the next one, which is on a boat. I hear tickets are selling fast. But yeah, barring any super hyper weirdo virus that I get, I'll be there. And I'm so excited. I cannot wait. Although I do get a little seasick. I'm kind of worried. I think I'm going to work it into my bit. I think my character is going to be seasick so that then if I am seasick, it'll just play. That's just part of my strategy, because the last time I was in California and I was driving through, Santa Barbara, it wasn't even that hilly yet. Santa Barbara it gets very, very, it's more than hills. Okay. Some people say it's not, but it is. I got so car sick. Like I get really motion sick very easily. So if you see me like a pale shade of green, at Rip City on a boat, just look away or just tell me I look great. Either one. But yeah, I used that time while I was laid up to finally tackle, Crying in H Mart, which is, man, I had been putting off reading that book, for a number of reasons. Well, one, regarding Michelle Zauner, I'm a Japanese Breakfast fan first. So like, I'm a huge fan of her music and her as a indie pop sensation that she is, but I had not read Crying in H Mart because I was afraid of what it would do to my mental state. Not even kidding. I know a few of you have been really kind and check in and see about how I'm doing and how my mom's doing, but my mom was diagnosed with cancer, back in the fall of last year. And her story just felt too close. And I just thought it was going to wreck me. I was just like, I'm just going to put off reading this book as long as I can, because, I don't know if I can make it out on the other side. But my mom, is finished with chemo and is doing really well. And for now is kind of in a place of just like, let's just keep monitoring this. Like it's really honestly the best possible outcome. So I was feeling stronger. And also I have the event with Michelle Zauner this month. Tomorrow, wait, the show's coming out. Yeah, it's 31st. So yeah, April 18th. I'm going to be in conversation with Michelle Zauner at the Music Farm. It's an event being thrown by College of Charleston. Oh my God, dude. I swear my brain has not been okay since I got that weird virus. The College of Charleston. That is embarrassing. It's Charleston Wine and Food Festival. They're putting on the event. It's going to be awesome. I'm going to be in conversation with Michelle Zauner. The event is sold out, but I do keep hearing people be like, oh, my friend got extra tickets or my friend has a ticket. So definitely ask around. And I know they released a few more tickets, but I think those have since sold out because she's such a badass and everyone wants to hang with her and take a photo and grab a signed copy of her book and eat some snacks and have some drinks. It's going to be a really good time. It's April 18th. So see if you can find a ticket. But anyway, I knew I had to read the book before then because I would never in a million years be the type of person who would just like skim a book and then give an interview or asking anyone to sit there and talk to me about a book they wrote that I hadn't read. So I was like, all right, you're stuck in bed. You can't go to Rip City. You have to read this book. And, it turned out to be just the best medicine. It was so well written. I know I'm not like saying anything earth shattering because people who've read it already know how amazing this book is. But her story just, man, it felt so close to mine, not just the part about her mom being sick. But she was a musician. I was a musician. We were into a lot of the same bands. We're around the same age. She's a few years younger than me, but, both kind of were bad teenagers. I was just a terrible teenager. And I don't say that in a proud way, especially as I creep up into my kids being teenagers. I'm like, oh my God, do you think they're going to be as horrible as I was? Even if they're like half as bad as I was, I'll be so thrilled. I'll just be like, okay, well, that's good. At least they didn't, insert any one of the shenanigans that I pulled on my parents. And shenanigans like makes it sound fun and cool. It was more like troubled teen situation, not fun and cool. But yeah, it just, her whole story, it just was a really interesting way of watching someone else process like a similar experience to the one that I've had, not just recently, but in my life. And it just made me feel so connected to people who try to do stuff that's creative, and maybe aren't always understood. And maybe sometimes it looks like they're just purposely fucking up their lives all the time or being hard on the people around them. And then only, the beautiful resolution is that she's wonderful and she's not. And it's a really human experience. And it just, I cried. The book is so well written and it's so funny, but it is just so like out of nowhere. You're like, just like painfully sad. And it just hits you in all the right places. The food descriptions are absolutely incredible. And I spent the whole time just wishing I could eat or had an appetite. But I think it did kind of bring me back to life because I was like reading that many beautiful descriptions about foods, especially some that I've never even tried. I've had plenty of Korean food, but I'm like not on that level, not on like my mom's Korean at home. And this is what she makes and likes and orders when she goes out. Like she just really, really dives into the food descriptions in such a tantalizing way. So the book was amazing. I'm so amped for the interview. I like cannot wait. And I feel, like I'm coming out of this wiser, smarter, a little slower. Clearly, my brain is not functioning. But I'm hoping that I'll be, back up to snuff by this weekend. Cause man, it only feels like I was down like a week, but a week really starts to add up, especially if you're someone like me who can't sit still. So when I'm forced to sit still or sit down or lay down or just be burning down with fever, it really doesn't sit well with me. I got to be in motion. I'm kind of like a, shark. I wanted to say something else because I feel like everybody always says that. And then there's that thing where people think that they're the first person to know this fact, even though it's like a widely known fact. Like the thing about sharks where people say like, did you know if they stop moving, they die? Anytime anyone's ever told me that, they always think they're the first person to tell me that. And I'm like, dude, you're not. I've heard that a million times. So yeah, I was looking for a different comparison, but again, my brain's just doing what it can, which is not a lot right now. But I have been like kind of feeding myself back to full strength, which involves a lot of like broths and stews and vegetables and resisting the urge to eat something just like really indulgent, which is what I want to do. Like I just want to order pizza and then it gets here and you're like, I can't even taste this food. So without the taste, you only get the bad parts where the indigestion with no flavor. And you're like, oh, that's, I'll happily have indigestion from eating pizza if I can at least taste it on the way down. But if you're like, if you can't even taste it and then you just get like, all the worst parts of eating something super indulgent. So I did that for a couple of days where I was just like, fuck it, just give me a burger. Just go to Hugh Babies again. My 4-year-old calls it Who Babies. And I just think that's probably a better name. I don't know why they don't redo it. But he's always like, Mom, can we go to Who Babies? And I was like, yeah, we can definitely go to Who Babies. And then I got a double cheeseburger from Who Babies and was like, this is not against Who Babies. This is just completely against my poor body that was like not ready for a double cheeseburger in its feverish state. I did it anyway, though. I muscled through it and then was like, okay, tomorrow we're going to try a soup. Why don't we start there? Since it's the first thing you've been able to eat in 46 hours. But yeah, I did some, I made some bad choices, I never want to face the fact that I'm ill. And then I finally just succumbed to it and was like, you know what? I'm going to just give my body what it needs, rest, read this book, which was incredibly therapeutic and so good. If you're like me and you're like a person that either thinks they don't have time to read or just hasn't gotten around to reading it yet, definitely get this book. They're going to turn it into a movie. I'm really excited about the whole process. And apparently she already has another deal for a second book. She's going to move to Korea and live in Korea for a year and try to learn to speak the language. She can speak it fluently to a certain degree, but like not the way she wants to. So I can't wait to read the next book. I'm just a huge Michelle Zauner fan, and I'm kind of blown away that I get to talk to her in literally a few days. So stay tuned for that. I'm sorry I missed you at Rip City, but I will see you on the boat. And if you're listening to this episode on Friday, March 31st, go to Redux tonight. Two of my favorite people, Caroline Herring and Nathan McClements, are having their show. They're putting on a show. It's an art show. They've had a lightning residency at Redux, which is an art studio in town. And it's a 6-week or maybe 8-week long residency. And so they're going to show all of the work they've been working on during their lightning residency. And I cannot wait to see it. You should go too. Go check it out. Go see what they've been up to. I'm literally on the edge of my seat. I just love both of them and what they do. Caroline is a photographer, and she's been kind of playing around with things beyond photography, like screen printing and taking images and from her photos and messing around with those in different ways. And Nathan is just an incredibly prolific artist that's always working and always putting out amazing stuff, and just so off the wall. Like, he'll take stuff. He's at a coffin that he lets people donate stuff into. And that's what he's been making art from this whole time during this residency. One of my favorites, I've saw a small preview because they had open studios a few weekends ago, right before I got sick, actually. Maybe I got it there. No, I'm just kidding. Someone dropped off a fire hose and he braided it and wove it into this like super sick piece. So there's just going to be really, really amazing stuff there. If you're in Charleston, go see what they've been working on. They've both been working so hard, and they're just some of my favorite creatives in town. So I am going to stop by that on Friday. If it's today, if you're listening, in real time. And if not, you can check out their work on Instagram. I'm like always sharing their stuff, but find them on Instagram. I'll put their handles in the show notes, and you can check it out for yourself. But yeah, man, I feel like I'm back from the dead. At one point I did think I was like, is this it for me? Am I having an aneurysm? Like, the pressure in my head was so intense that I was like, is this a headache? I'm just not a person. This is not like me bragging, but I'm not a person that gets sick a lot. I pretty much feel really good all the time. And I suddenly realized what a privilege that is. Not that I don't like do work for it. Like, I feel like I'm very, like, the older I get, the more health conscious I am. And the more I'm trying to like do things to support my body and feel as good as I can all the time, just so I can do all the things I want to do in life and have the energy and like the physical kind of wherewithal to do it. But man, when I got that sick, it was like weirdly humbling. I was like, oh my God, is this the end? Is it all over? So much shit I want to do. So I'm coming back from the dead. We're going to kick it off with April, with the month of April, with the Michelle's Honor event. Oh my God. I'm so excited for that. And then we're going to roll right into Rip City on a boat. And then it's my birthday. May. I'm a May baby. I'm a Taurus baby. So I'm absolutely thrilled to be back. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you to everyone who messaged me to check on me and see why I wasn't at Rip City. And thank you to everyone who messaged me and was like, hey, you let the outro song just play after last week's episode. It's because I was literally laying in my bed. Thank God I had recorded that interview with Nick Dugan from Sorelle the week 2 weeks before. So I had that one in the bank. Otherwise, there would have been no episode. But I was laying in my bed, like, with a cold rag on my head, just trying to put the episode out. And I think I just didn't, I know I didn't, fade out the music. So it just played for like the whole song at the end. But you know, it's a good song. That song, I don't really know. I remember probably 5 years ago when I was looking for outro music, I was like, I don't have money to license music. So I went to this free website where it's like artists who actually want their stuff to get used. So they allow you to license it for no money. So it's a lot of very, like, let's just call them indie artists. But I mean, it's people just like uploading songs and being like, I don't care if you use this. So I have no idea who the artist is, or like, I know they're French. I have no idea what the song's about. I just loved the song. And so you finally got to hear the whole thing. It was an accident. It was a feverish accident. But I did get a lot of messages where people were like, thanks, I was really vibing on the outro music. It also made up for 30% of the show. So that was kind of a ripoff. But, you know, I'm back. I'm back from the dead. I love you. Thank you so much for being here. As always, you can rate and review the show. You know that you can. It really helps. And it means a lot to me. So if you want to go on, you can also like leave messages and stuff in Spotify now. So definitely check it out in Spotify and see what it lets you do. I know it'll let you leave like feedback on each individual episode, which is kind of fun. And then it'll also let you give the show stars. So hit it up. You can do like any amount of stars, but 5 stars is obviously ideal. And I'll see you next week. Bye. 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 Thank you so much. Bye.